Hello, and welcome to this installment of Parent University TV. I'm Michael O'Neill, your host, and we have a guest with us today that will need no introduction. The mayor of the city of Savannah, Van Johnson, the Honorable Van Johnson. And we're going to talk about a lot of issues as we progress through these unique times. And Van's going to be here to shine some light on some various things. Mr. Mayor, how are you, sir?
Let me remember to take my mask off. I am doing wonderful. I'm blessed to still be in it, so I'm doing well.
Yeah, you are. Well, Van, not wanting to date the show too much in case we have to show reruns a few months from now, but it's been a few months. It's been an interesting few months.
To say the least. To say the least.
My. Every one of you who, all of you who are public figures, you know, who came into your position, your current positions at the beginning of the year, I want you to know that I keep all of you in my prayers.
Thank you.
Because there's nobody that can say, I remember when I was, that happened. There is nobody. You guys are operating in a completely unique time. And I think the fortune that we have in Savannah is that we have you, we have your energy, we have a person with your heart. And so once again, you're in my prayers all the time. And I say that note just to acknowledge.
Again, appreciate it. It's been phenomenal. We've been in office now, a little over, approaching 9 months. Mm-hmm. And as it is right now, 7 of those months have been in the middle of a pandemic. Mm-hmm. So we have lived most of our existence, our elected existence this time,
yes,
under a pandemic, under some type of mask mandate, some
yes,
type of emergency order,
yes,
or in some type of demonstrations about police brutality.
Yes,
so it's been some
yes,
unique times.
Yes,
all
yes,
in the middle of a presidential election.
Yes, 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 yes. And so once again, you know, and you've done, and in my estimation, and I choose my words very specifically. In my estimation, the energy that you've brought to this journey is a godsend for the families of Savannah. As a matter of fact, you have an interesting background. Did you want to speak briefly about who you are for people who may have been under a rock for the last few months? Because it speaks to why you have the perspective that you have.
Well, I think most importantly, I'm a son. Mm-hmm. I'm a son of phenomenal parents. I'm a brother, I'm a nephew, I'm an uncle, I'm a great uncle. Mm-hmm. I'm a godfather of more kids than I can count at this point. I'm a human resources professional, now retired of 25 years, a law enforcement professional of well over 20 years, an elected public servant, was now my 17th year now. And so, I'm just who I am, somebody who's here trying to leave the world better than when I found it.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, you left out, you did leave out that you might have some relation with people in New York.
I am a New Yorker. By birth, my parents are still there. All my siblings are still there.
Yes,
so,
yes.
New York is the place of my birth and where my beloved family mostly is.
Yes, and I bring that up because your perspective on the things that have happened in the last few months, also you get some perspective from outside of Savannah.
Oh yeah.
You know, being a New Yorker and the way, particularly the way it's hit New York, immediately, it seemed as though there was an urgency with you that was born of your experience with your loved ones.
Absolutely. And to be very clear, I was blessed with another lens. So although on March the 1st, March 15th, Savannah didn't really have that. We were watching things happening in New York.
Right.
And we watched how it progressively got worse in New York. We watched where I had, family members and friends to be victimized by COVID-19. And I watched as, people I know, funeral directors I know, could not service the families because there were so many bodies.
Yes.
The morgues were filled, and they were putting them in the back of cooler trucks and leaving those bodies there until somebody could finally get around to them. New York State has gone from worst to now almost first. Their positivity rate is now less than 1%, whereas here in Georgia, we're still about 9% or so. So they're in the red, we're in the red zone, they're in the green zone. And so, it was urgent for us to speak very plainly and clearly about what we understood coronavirus to be. It was very important for us to take some decisive action, which is why we did an emergency order closing stores and a variety of establishments. It was important for us that we canceled the St. Patrick's Day parade and successive parades and gatherings because it just didn't make sense and didn't jive with the science. And so, it made sense for us to issue a mask mandate. It was the first in the state of Georgia on July the 1st, which ruffled the governor's feathers a little bit. It was fine, but yet we, stood tall and we still had the mask mandate and led others in the state in doing it. So, it was those types of things. To be present in the moment. Speak plainly and clearly. And to just give your absolute best. And so on March the 31st, May the 31st, I think it was, where we had people coming for a riot, but a demonstration, so to speak, in downtown Savannah. We wanted to say very clearly and adamantly that we were not going to allow people from outside our city to come here and wreck our city. And to that end, although we had thousands of people there, we know we had anarchists here, professional anarchists. We did not suffer some of the devastation that Atlanta and other cities around the country faced. Because Savannahans stood up and said, we're not going to let you wreck our city. And so we had a peaceful demonstration, several peaceful demonstrations, and all of the successive days after that, and maybe 16 arrests total, and very little, if any, property damage.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that insight. I've always thought that your perspective, where you're from, the people you're in contact with, helped you to maybe see it from a different lens, as you've explained it, and some of the urgency that you were able to assign to what was happening.
We did not want Savannah to become New York.
Yes.
We don't have the facilities. We just would not be able to maintain that. And so, as was said later by Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York when he visited here, that he had been watching Savannah, and that, obviously the actions we took prevented us from getting to a worse state. And even now, for a city our size, we're doing better than most of the state.
Right. Well, of course, we'll talk a little bit more about this, and I'm sure this is the topic of conversation a great deal of the time when you have these kind of conversations. But I'm sure as well that there's some positive things that we can point to at this point regarding our journey with COVID. Is there something, those things you'd like to share? Well, you just shared a little bit of it, but are some other things, some trends or something that you're seeing?
I think in the end, I've learned being around for a while, not as long as you, but you learn that out of every crisis comes opportunity. Out of every crisis comes some creativity. And our faith teaches us that all things work together for the good, even if it's a bad thing. Absolutely. That in the end it works together for good. And so for us, I think what you saw was people reconnecting again. We had gotten so busy with cell phones and schedules and things. You saw families not having dinner together. You saw students hating school. You saw people going to church or religious services as a convenience. And I think when it was taken away from us, it reminded all of us just how important those things were.
Yes.
So you started seeing families being together again because they had to. You saw students now at home and parents spending time with their kids because they had to. You had students missing school because they couldn't be in school. And so for that, it made us really refocus on the things that were important. It helped us to be able to be in the quiet and really hear things we had not heard in a while and see things. It allowed our religious and faith institutions to realize that God was bigger than a building. And so when you worship, the congregation is not of a building, the congregation is of people and the spirit that connects people. And so for us, that although we were socially distant, we were spiritually still connected. And I think this has drawn people closer together. We have seen magnificent things. We've seen people giving like they've never given before. We've seen people's philanthropic activities increase. I mean, Parent University is a great example of that. I mean, you know, you talk about somebody surviving. Parent University thrived. I mean, you know, a couple of times I think y'all almost broke Zoom. I mean, you're on here and, you know, you got 200-300 people, parents at one time on a Zoom. When you look at it, there was more people going to church or going to the mosque or going to synagogues because now it was an opportunity for them. They're reaching out to find ways to connect back with people, connect with their faith, connect with the things that they had missed. So for that and for us, you know, we realized that we were doing better. Some folks were making more money off of unemployment than they were making actually working. So for them, that was a blessing.
Yes.
You know, for our Congress to be able to get together and work on a CARES Act after they really just worked in dysfunction.
Yes.
So I mean, again, I think that, you know, there are things that work from this. I think that when we get back to what that new normal was, you know, the fact was we should have been washing our hands in the first place. We should have been watching our distance in the first place. So I think, you know, in a way, we have put more emphasis on cleanliness. And I think those are the types of things that, you know, help make us better. And I think Savannah will be better because of it.
Well, you know, well, you said a lot of things there. And our parents will want to know in this opportunity that we have to speak to you, to dialogue with you, more specifically, how they can you know, help our community move forward. But before I ask that, you know, you are the director of lots of services that our city of Savannah provides. And, you know, as our city starts to come back up, how are we positioned to, of course, you know, there were some times when you might have had a lot of people out or stuff like that. How is the city of Savannah and its infrastructure positioned for us to move forward?
Well, we've had millions of dollars of construction activities that have continued throughout. I mean, you know, people can do that socially distanced. For us, our numbers have improved. We are, at one point we were going up in the hundreds in July. Now we're growing up by double digits. We're hoping that continues to go down. We still have what's called significant community spread, but on the other end of it, it's on a downward trend. And so, you know, I think that our community is getting better. The mask mandate definitely helped. We just want people to do it more and do it more often because the weather is changing. And so people go back into houses and they're among each other again. I mean, you know, people sacrificed a lot this year, and I was really proud of Savannahans that kept the faith and followed the science. We have to keep our foot on the gas if we're going to get back to where we are.
You know, a few minutes ago, you talked about the pandemic changing our perspective, slowing us down, if you will, from the hectic, I mean, almost frenetic pace that we were at every day. I mean, every day, running, time you get up to time you go. So even if you saw something, you didn't see it. You certainly didn't have time to reflect on it. And of course, the pandemic slowed that down. With that came a heightened social consciousness about lots of things.
God has a way of reestablishing the equation, upsetting the balance of things. And so the Breonna Taylor, the George Floyds, we were too busy to see it collectively as a nation. This time we saw it.
Right.
And more importantly, it was not just that it was seen, but it was who saw it. And you had people who had never had these interests before. People of all hues, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, saying, wait a minute, something is wrong here. And so now you see social conscience in no other way before.
Right.
I mean,
worldwide.
The Colin Kaepernick take a knee thing pales in comparison to an NBA bubble where you see the words Black Lives Matter. And it's not that people are saying that Black Lives Matter only.
Right. Of course not.
But it is a rallying cry to say that if a house in a neighborhood is burning, all the houses matter.
Right.
But what matters at the moment is a house that needs the attention. And so for us as black men, who've had to have that conversation with our offspring and those men that we love, because, regardless of the positions we hold in this community, I know full well, and you do too, on any given day on the street, we encounter a police officer, there's just there's some rules, there's some protocols. And now you have Hollywood and you have executives that are now saying that, hey, something is not right. So now you hear this discussion now about inequity, and you hear this discussion about disenfranchisement and all of these different things that we had never happened before. And so we are now a more woke, if you will, community at large than we've ever been before.
It's been a tough year, as we've said over and over again, but I've been out, and it seems as though I'm seeing people on the street who are not from here. They seem to be clearly from somewhere else. So I want to ask you, first of all, how is the economy? Certainly we've taken a hit, and there are people suffering, and we'll ask about that. But where is the economy today?
We have taken a massive hit. The city of Savannah gets its revenue from 4 main sources: property taxes, sales taxes, hotel motel taxes, and revenues. The sales tax and hotel motel taxes devastated. We run about over 90% occupancy during the summer, and the fact was it just wasn't there.
Right.
People were not coming. Right. St. Patrick's Day, people just wasn't coming. It wasn't there. Right. They've had to lay off people. It's been very, very difficult economic times. People are coming back. Because I think partly because Savannah is a great place to visit, but also because we have made sure that we have done what we can to make sure that we're keeping people safe. That being said, we figure it'll take about a year to 2 years for our hospitality industry to fully recover from what's happening right now. I mean, we just don't run 60%, 70% at a time when we run 100%. I mean, it's been a very difficult time.
Yes. And I know a lot of the people that worked in that industry.
Sure, parents and...
Yeah, a lot of them. And so they're having a difficult time now. And so what would you advise them to find resources that are available to them at this moment to bridge the gap between now and the time you're projecting?
Well, the city of Savannah used our CARES money. We put $3.3 million aside, 80% of our money, that we were going to put that together to help people. So we partnered with the United Way of the Coastal Empire. And so basically, if you live in the city of Savannah and you can prove that you had some loss as it relates to COVID, so if you lost your job, your hours were cut, we're helping with mortgage assistance, rental assistance, and utility assistance. And all you have to do is just prove you live in the city of Savannah and prove that this loss was directly related to COVID.
Right.
And we're helping pay those bills. There are
Yeah.
people that we've gone to court and we have paid for them not to be evicted from their homes. And so that's one of the things I'm very proud about, that we've gone above and beyond to try to help people. Many of our neighbors, many other cities have used that CARE money, rightfully so, to help to replenish their coffers, to reimburse their expenses. We took the extraordinary step of putting that much money forward to be able to help people who are struggling every day. To that end, we took $2 million to help small businesses here in Savannah. Our first round, we helped 42 businesses in the city of Savannah. It was not as diverse as we would have wanted to be, so we're going to allocate another $1.6 million to help small minority businesses in disadvantaged corridors that have less than a certain amount of employees. So by the time it's all over, $3.3 million go to people, $3.6 million go to business.
Yeah.
And so these are things we've realized that a lot of people just need a crutch. They just need a bridge. If they can just get over this hump,
Yes.
they'll be okay. And so
Yes.
it behooves us to do what we can to help people get over that hump so that they can continue on. And so as the economy gets better, if someone is not evicted, we know they have a better chance of making it.
Yes, yes, yes. And of course, equity, once again, being a key word. Now, you were saying million or billion?
Million.
Million, okay. Okay, wow. And I did hear you say in your response, at least I heard you say United Way.
Yes.
So is United Way, would that be the principal way that a person would reach out for this resource?
Yes. Now, United Way is partnering with several nonprofits.
Yes.
And
yes.
so in partnering with them, once you go through United Way portal,
Yes.
then you're also connected to other agencies.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so again, the goal is, the city of Savannah cannot manage that. I mean,
Right,
we just,
right.
you get,
Yes, yes.
we would engage parents. That's
Yes.
what Parent University does.
Yes,
United
yes,
Way
yes.
engages nonprofits, and they're able to track
Yes.
how and who they're helping. So we engage with them. And
Yes.
so it's worked out relatively well. Again, we've been a blessing to people. We've partnered with the Small Business Assistance
Yes.
Corporation. It was a little turbulent at first. Hopefully we got it together. And again, we're helping small businesses because we recognize if they're able to stay open, then employees are able to stay employed.
Yes.
If employees are able to stay employed, they're able to keep a roof over their head and feed their families. They're able to keep a roof over their head and feed their family. You know what I'm saying? So it just goes
absolutely.
on and on and
Absolutely.
on. And so, I mean, for us during this time, our intent is to be a blessing and be able to help.
And of course, all this lends itself to our society being civil. At the very beginning, we talked about some of the social unrest associated with the pandemic that occurred because we were seeing things and reflecting on things in a way we hadn't been when we had this game going on, that recital going on, just everything going on. But now we saw it and we stayed there and watched it. And as a result, still in our country and around the world, people are still vibrating from the images. So I happen to know that you and police chief did some very proactive things in Savannah. And how has that worked out?
It's worked out well.
For us in Savannah.
The bottom line, at the end of the day, I might be a mayor. I'm a black man. I've been black all my life. Will be black all my life. I cannot look at, and I mean, I guess I have another focal point of being involved in the law enforcement profession. I believe in police. I believe we need police. I believe police are a blessing to our community. You need someone to help keep order. On the other end of it, I'm the recipient of thousands of hours of training, as all police officers are. That at the end of the day, we're supposed to use that training to be able to help us to address how we deal with people. On the other end of it, there is a moral barometer. And I know when I was on the street, the question I would always ask myself, if that was my son, if that was my mother, my father, would I want them to be treated in that way? If I was serving a warrant and I come into somebody's house, a no-knock warrant, and there is gunfire, in my mind, excessive gunfire, Usually we teach you shoot twice and you assess. In this case, it was 16 shots. One officer is indicted for wanton, reckless conduct, but as it relates to shooting the gun that went into another apartment and not into Breonna Taylor. You have an officer who has his hand in his pocket while having his knee on the neck of a man who says he can't breathe. He was already in custody. He was on the floor, on the ground, face down, handcuffed. You already had control of him. Those are the things that a just and caring community, whether you're for police or against police, but people of goodwill has to say something is wrong with that picture. And so for us, we're at a time now where people are saying enough is enough. And so this racial consciousness helps to feed the equity work. And so from that, I established two committees. One was called Savannah Cares, and that was the Citizens Accountability Review of Emergency Services. This is looking at the policies of our police department from a citizen perspective to make recommendations about how we can better treat folks. The other one is being led by Dr. Otis Johnson, and it is called Real Savannah, Racial Equity and Leadership. And we're looking at disparities across the board, looking at equities across the board. And this is a document based on empirical evidence that we're pulling from data. And in the end, we're going to see where the disparities lie. In the scientific method, it says you can't do anything about the problem unless you first identify. And so where there are issues, this will provide us a roadmap to be able to deal with them. And from those types of efforts, of us calling it the way we see it, Savannah becomes the beloved community we all know it could be. From us understanding each other, and from all of us saying that if there's inequity anywhere, there is inequity everywhere. Which while it's important for me to have an LGBTQ alliance, it was important for me to have an alliance of people recently released from jails and prisons. Because, and the fact is, I've never walked in either of those shoes, but I know they deserve to be at the table. And that's why Parent University, which I'm so grateful for, has a bunch of seats at those tables. Because again, in the end, and I want to thank you. I know my time is coming to an end. But the fact was, we gave out thousands and thousands of masks. And I know when I gave those masks and you came so quickly to City Hall and you picked up those boxes, and next thing you know, y'all had those masks out and packaged, and they were in the communities where people were. And I think because of that, people were wearing masks early in Savannah. Parents were making their kids wear them. They kept the faith and followed the science. And I saw them too. I mean, I could identify our mask early on because we were the only ones doing masks. Our city was safer. And it's those types of strategic partnerships that makes us better.
Well, Mayor Johnson, we could go on for another half hour, and we'll have you back certainly very soon. You have been the most active mayor with Parent University in our whole 22 years.
It's going to get better.
That goes without saying. I'm looking forward to it. So they're wrapping us up.
Aloha.
Aloha.
To all my Baha'i brothers and sisters out there. So those of you who don't know, Michael's been giving me primers on the Baha'i faith. You know, when you're ignorant, you don't know, then you ask people to explain to you. So he's been very gracious, and I've met some wonderful people that I did not know were Baha'i folks. So I've been practicing it. So.
God bless you. God bless you. My prayers are with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I need them.
Okay, everybody. Mayor Van Johnson. You never know who you're going to see on this show. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Until that time, go find your kids and give them a big hug for me and Van. All right. And mask up.
That's right.
See you later.